Hi guys, welcome back to Trail Talk. I'm your host Aaron Shimmons. Thanks for joining me for our trail and ultra running show. This week I'm joined by a really interesting guest, Townsend of the Running Supply newsletter and blog. Just wrapped up that interview and it was a really good conversation about the brands, the culture and all of these types of things. Thanks to our sponsors, Tantrums, GOREWEAR and XMiles. Links are in the description, links are in the bio. Appreciate your support and their support, but without further delay, let's go and speak to Cole. Cole Townsend, welcome to Trail Talk. Thanks for joining me to have a chat about running supply, running culture. You've got a really cool Substack and newsletter that I've been following for a while. I think it was one of the first Substacks that I followed. I was looking to see when that was, but I can't put a date on it, but it's certainly been a while. For the Trail Talk audience, why don't you just introduce yourself and let us know where you are and maybe some of your own history with running before we get into running supply?
For sure. So I'm based in Boston. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, some upstate, and I've been running for, I don't know, since I was 13. I'm 32 now. So 18, 19, 18 years, 19 years. And yeah, I was a big like track guy, but like I grew up and kind of came into running and like being a competitive runner in like the Born to Run era, like the barefoot shoes. So I was like really interested in doing trail and that sort of stuff. I never got like into it competitively because I was like very, very much dedicated to like track PRs. Like I've been locked in on trying to run a 3K and 5K PRs since high school. And I ran D3 in college and then ran like competitively post-collegiately in Boston. There's like a great running scene here. Not so much trail scene, but like a great like road racing, cross country and track scene, especially because there are a lot of colleges in like the Boston, Cambridge area. Harvard, BU are here. We have a lot of indoor tracks. So there's a really competitive post-collegiate and collegiate scene in the area. It makes it really easy to run a lot. So that's where like I'm coming from. My trail experience. I've paced a couple speed projects. Those are like, not super competitive, but they are long. And it is definitely a taste of kind of like the ultra community. And I've like been following it as it's been growing. One of my friends, Seth, lives in Chamonix and like ran UTMB when I was in college, maybe. So that would have been in 2013 or 2014. And I just remember like talking to him recently. I was like, how different is it? He's like, it's not even remotely the same. He's like, it's so big now. When he ran it that year, I think like, I don't even think he had to qualify. Like he just like hopped in because he was a local. And now he's like, I don't think I can get into the race.
Yeah, 2013, that was back in the North Face days, and it certainly was a pretty big deal then, but that was a couple of years before I even went to it. But yeah, it's absolutely blown up since then. Before we get into like the running supply thing, where I sort of saw the crossover in road and trail is the increase in like the running kind of culture, the vibey part of running, I suppose. The trend, it sort of meant that we're gonna talk plenty about Satisfy, I suppose, but like they don't feel like they're a trail brand or a road brand. They're more like a running culture brand.
Yeah,
And
I would truly call them a running fashion brand. Like they're like a luxury fashion brand. Their people have a background in fashion.
but I think they're a brand that kind of bridges between
Definitely.
the two sides of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about like running culture, the newsletter, the Substack, why you started that.
For sure. So I started running supply. A lot of my friends I I've always been interested in like the like gear side of running. Like I was obsessed with that in high school. I was always trying out different shoes, different like always trying to have the fastest spikes. I still have unworn pairs of like the original Nike Victory. Like I remember that when that came out in 2008, it was like the coolest thing ever. And like always appreciated things like the Nike Spike Bus, where like they had all these like extras on top of the running experience. Cause like I was still really dedicated to running and cared about performing, but I was like, I have all these other things. Like I have all the training, I'm doing all these other things. Like, can I have some gear that doesn't look bad? And like the first year I was running, I was running like long tights with gym shorts over them, and then eventually kind of fell into like wearing what other runners were wearing and like what the professionals were wearing, and like being more comfortable with that. And I was like, wow, we don't really have a whole lot of options for stuff that like looks cool. Um, so I was always interested in like latching on to whatever I found over like the following years, like heading into college and stuff like that. So this is around 2015 and whatnot. So like when I remember like when Tracksmith and like Satisfy came out, they were really groundbreaking things because they're, you know, Nike wasn't even making striped shorts for men. Like I bought women's shorts in college because I wanted striped shorts. So I got like women's Nike Tempo shorts. But, you know, now obviously we have a million options. I was like inspired to do this by Chris, like Runner's Highest. I really liked his newsletter. I thought I could cover like, I felt like I could like fill a gap at least and like cover a lot more of the American stuff. I have like a long background in like road and track as opposed to trail because I think he's like focused. He definitely covers more of like the trail and like kind of core and hiking side of things. And like I definitely still have that running purist mindset where it's like I want the fast road shoes, I want the fast road gear, but I do find a lot. I am very interested in kind of the stuff they're coming out with from the trail side because a lot of it's more technical and has to be to perform over, you know, different, like a lot of different terrains over hours and hours of running as opposed to, you know, 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Has to put up with a lot more, as there are more durability issues, I would say, like with ultra stuff, and like all of a sudden weight matters because you're carrying it over the course of like up mountains and over the course of 50 to 100 miles. So it's cool seeing like because of those problems, how people are solving them versus like, you know, a pair of 2-inch Nike Tempo shorts is like going to cover you if you're doing 50 miles a week on the roads in Boston. Like that's pretty much good enough. So yeah, that's like kind of how I fell into this sort of stuff, and I've just been obsessed with it, and I follow it all, and I was like, all right, well maybe I can like do a newsletter and like round up all the stuff because there's a lot of stuff going on, and I do think it's important with so many new runners like be a little critical of the things coming out because I think there are a lot of brands very similar to like the streetwear boom during COVID, a lot of brands that are just like creating a community, making some viral content, slap their logo on a bunch of merch, and then like sell it for way too much money. And like I do feel like, while I think it's great for them to like make merch for the community because people want to buy that stuff, I also feel like they're kind of taking advantage of people a little bit. I think sometimes people don't know how to discern between like what's a legit brand and like who's here to stay, and from a brand that's like a logo slap, cash out.
Yeah, there's a big difference between an apparel brand and a merch line. You know, there's so many brands over the past, I feel like 3 years have all been sort of going, I think we could do this Satisfy thing too. Let's make something that looks kind of similar. We'll do some blurry photographs. We'll have a vibey Instagram account and we'll make some money. And it feels like there's more of those brands than you can actually keep up with.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of those coming out. And like I honestly like I track them all, but like I don't cover them because I'm like, if I don't think what they're doing is long term, or if like I don't think what they're doing is good yet, I like don't want to give them any mentions.
Yeah, I
And
suppose like,
it's not like a, you know, like a mean way or anything. It's more just like I'd rather insulate the running community from stuff like that if I can. I'm not the person that's going to do it, but I'm like, if I don't mention them, maybe someone else won't mention them, or it's one less place for someone to discover like one of these brands that's just like making logo slap merch with unoriginal logos and charging $85 for a white t-shirt.
yeah, the Satisfy style and these kind of startups that have come around copying that playbook, they all seem to have this same type of coming from this same type of style, whereas we don't
Sort of like
see
the
so
same
many.
energy.
Yes, like that, you know, punk rock type of thing, whether they are punk rock or not, they're kind of trying to feel that way. And I'm just wondering, is there space or time for challenger brands to appear with different language?
I think it's a good point. So like I think I've I get where you're coming from with like the punk style. And I think it's like because those brands are coming in with like their whole vibe is like, we're cool, we're kind of exclusive, you want to be us. It's very aspirational. I feel like a lot of the brands popping up, especially ones that are like High Rocks adjacent, are like very run bro, like grind set, sort of alpha male type thing where it's like all about optimizing your performance, which like is all great to a degree, but it's like every brand that I'm seeing on Instagram right now is doing that. And like the formula for the photos is very similar. They're like very moody, dark photos. They're wearing Adidas Evo SLs. They're running on a track shirtless. They're all 6 foot tall, beautiful, and have six pack abs. And I'm like, that's not me, first of all. Second of all, like, why are they all doing this? But like, it works for whatever reason. People like want to see more of it. It's working on, I assume, mostly men. Like, I can't imagine a lot of women are buying like bleep this out UVU club, but like there's no way that's the audience. But like they have 200,000 followers on Instagram, and like they have a really big community. And now they're even getting the point where they're making real gear, but they were very much making merch to begin with. Like that was their whole. They're doing like merch drops that sold out, and like that was they had a very streetwear formula for a lot of this. But I think Satisfy to a degree has like I think theirs is more like fashion formula. I think they're a little bit smarter than like the baseline streetwear formula for like their marketing. But I do think like it's it's on the same side of the coin, even if it's not literally the same. It's on the same edge, I would say. I think there's plenty of room though for like brands doing different things. Like I think there's a lot of room for like some more wholesome trail brands to come out. They're like our whole thing isn't that we're super cool. I think the mainstream brands kind of own that right now. Like they're not trying to be cool. They're trying to be accessible because they want to reach the most amount of people and make a ton of money. Like you're not going to see Brooks doing like we're too cool for school thing. Like that's how you lose sales and run specialty. I just covered a brand. I'll give them a shout. At Will is like pretty much like lifestyle run gear that's like really marketed towards dads with kids. It's like, are you going to go on a run, then do a bunch of errands and pick up your kids up from soccer practice? And you don't want to wear like all black, or you don't want to wear like neon highlighter stuff, or like stuff that's like really running looking technical gear that you're going to pick up at Dick's Sporting Goods or I don't know, Decathlon or something like that. Like if you want something that's a little bit nicer that like passes as real clothing, but you can also run in it. Like that's the goal of this brand. Like it is not the highest performance stuff, but it's also like they're not doing super edgy looking clothing. Like it's something you could buy at like a J. Crew almost, but like not quite that preppy. I think that was kind of like that was Rich's goal, and I think he kind of like nailed it. And I think that is going to be that's its own niche. And I think there's like plenty of room for stuff like that, especially. I think Satisfy occupies a really large space on that like punk side. So like if you try to do anything even similar, people are immediately gonna be like, that Satisfy's look. But I think the same thing would go though if you try to make like a heritage brand. So there's YMR, which is like it's named after the Weimar track club, like YMER track club. It's Swedish or Scandinavian. Don't quote me on that, but they have a very similar look to Tracksmith. And like you see it and you're like, Tracksmith. It's like Tracksmith similarly carved out, like, and they've been in the space for a long time, similar to Satisfy, but like they've really solidified that look. So I think it's like, as long as you're not those two, there's a lot of room for other stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it feels like there's so much opportunity then if you take it away from that framing. You just have to go for a different segment, a different demographic, a different vibe. And that brand that you mentioned going after like the dad collecting the kids and all this type of the stuff, that's got to be the largest demographic in running.
Yeah, certainly, at least in the US, there's like a lot of those people. I think that looks like very probably more like LA or something like that. But like you're not seeing anyone outside of a major city wearing Bandit or Satisfied. Like if I go back to Buffalo and hop in the run club and there are 200 people there, they're wearing stuff you pick up at Fleet Feet Sports or Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever. And it's like, if it's in big box stores, they're going to get it. They're not like, maybe my dad's running in something a little fancier because he's got my hand-me-downs. But like for the most part, you know, people are not running in anything that great. And like, honestly, he's not even like, he's so accustomed to wearing the normal same stuff he wears. Like he's wearing his Turkey Trot t-shirt from, 20 years ago. And like he just runs in that every day. And it's like not even a good running shirt. It's cotton. But like that he's just just does the same thing and like doesn't want to think about it. And like he runs at 5 a.m. Like no one, he's not out trying to impress anyone. It's like whatever's the laundry pile.
If I think back to like 2013 to 2017, I was probably wearing Salomon and Patagonia.
Yeah.
They weren't like the Salomon stuff was great, but it didn't last that long. The Patagonia stuff, it lasted forever, but I think it kind of just got styled. It just aged, as in it dated.
Mhm.
And I remember distinctly, like whenever I moved to Manhattan, I didn't feel comfortable running in runny things because you would finish your run and I didn't have to go home. So it was, going for a slice, going sitting in the park or whatever. And great weather, you didn't have to think, you didn't have to rush to get changed because you were going to be cold. And that's actually whenever I started to buy some Satisfy pieces. And it's
'Cause
purely
in New York,
because,
yeah, like in New York, you're not standing out anymore. Now you just kind of like look like you're wearing kind of normal stuff, which like I totally understand. Cause like otherwise you're wearing like a electric blue long sleeve t-shirt and like the brightest red shorts you can imagine. And you're walking around like that, and like everyone's just like looks at you because everyone else in New York is wearing black, of course.
so like, I think one of the things that with Satisfy is they've now got into the footwear space and they've launched the rocker, and I believe they have plans already in place to develop a full line of shoes, some two or three other options from what I was told during the summer. That kind of sets them apart from all of these other startups as well. Obviously, Tracksmith have their shoes. Tracksmith and Satisfy feel very similar. They're like the top of the pile of
Yeah, in
these.
terms of like the challenger brands, like they have they have a 10-year head start on everybody else, which
Yeah.
is crazy to think about. Like it also doesn't really feel like they have a 10-year head start though. If you like compare them to Bandit or something like that, like they don't feel 10 years ahead of Bandit. They feel maybe
It's like,
a couple years ahead of Bandit.
it feels like Bandit have like grown a ton in the last 4 or 5 years.
I mean, I think 5 years ago they were just socks, so definitely. I was like, I think their seed round from A-Rod, Alexander Rodriguez, like the baseball player in New York, they got a lot of money out of that. I think that helped. Also, like I'm sure the A6 partnership isn't hurting them either.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about Satisfy and the Rocker and your opinion on them getting into the footwear space.
Yeah, it's like I don't know all of the background there. I've talked to them. Not I haven't talked to like any official channels, but like this is kind of my speculation on a lot of this. I think they needed to grow more. They're It's like when they announced the rocker, it was right around TR. They were looking for a new round of funding, and a great way to get new funding is be like, we need money to develop a shoe. And so like I assume they were like, we're going to develop a shoe because we can make money, but the maybe cynical thought would be we need money, so let's develop a shoe so we can get more runway. I don't think they took that approach, but like that is an approach. I think it does make it easier though for them to get more funding, and I think they'd been not really growing. I think they've been growing pretty steadily and slowly in like a pretty sustainable way, which for them has like worked for a long time and keeps them very cool because they're not super accessible as a brand. Right around them announcing that fundraising, which was like in December, January, I think it was in January, it was right after TRE, they announced like their $11 million Series B or C or something like that. They were hiring a bunch of people on the East Coast to do more like running retail. So like they're looking to get into more run specialty short stores. And like this is not just like the fourth wave stores, so like the knees up space and like the Renegade, they're already there. This was like expanding into more of like the mainstream's not the right word, but like maybe third wave, the ones that like have kind of a few locations, like the Heartbreaks, Mill Cities, that sort of stuff. I think they're going to be looking to getting into those. I don't think we'll ever see them in, at Dick's Sporting Goods. I think the price point's a little too high, but it'll be interesting to see if they can break into that space. As far as the shoes go, a lot of those stores that have kind of carried Satisfy or maybe are starting to carry Satisfy are now stockists because of the shoes. So I think that was a good way to break into more stores where they were like, we're not going to stock your clothes, but like their shoes are from a price point. Like if someone's carrying Norda, they can easily carry a Satisfy shoe because like we already have a shoe that's at that price point. Similarly, like if they're carrying an Alpha Fly, like the Alpha Fly is $270, like they can carry the Satisfy shoe. I think where it they might have some difficulty is like I don't know if everyone shopping in those stores necessarily understands Satisfy. And so like they're not necessarily going to take a chance on if they're not familiar with the brand, they're not necessarily going to be like, okay, well, I trust the brand. They make really cool stuff. They brought in the designer from North Face to do the footwear designs. They worked with Forms, like on a lot of this stuff. So like they got really great people behind this whole thing, and they're going to test it and they're going to make a great shoe. If you don't know all that though, like if you're not a super fan of the brand, then you might be like, all right, this shoe looks cool. Try it on. Feels a little bit narrow. And you're like, okay, like let's throw on this Norda. This one's $280. I know everyone likes it. I have a friend that has Norda. I'm going to buy these. And like, that's all it takes is like, you're like, I have a friend that has these. And if I'm a little hesitant with a shoe, especially at $280, I'm not going to just like buy it for fun. I imagine the shoes sold really well in Europe and like well at like Mr. Porter or something like that. But when I checked online at a lot of the run specialty stores, they were very much still in stock. How much stock? I don't know, but like they had every size in every color. And that's unusual for me to see for a Satisfy product. Like usually it just doesn't like sit there for very long. If you're getting near the end of a season, it's gone. Or even like, I think most of their stuff got cleared out within a week of launch. Granted, a lot of these stores have only had the shoes for a couple of weeks. So it's still like pretty early days on that.
I think they actually got a lot more of, the white Arctic kind of white color, creamy off white. I think that's the biggest quantity in that color. I think you're totally right. Like I can't see going into a regular running shop and lifting up a Moth-Tech t-shirt, which is now being increased in price, and someone not being aware of Satisfy going, oh, this is nice and this is a bargain, or this looks cool. I think if you touch it and feel it and you go, oh, this actually feels like a really nice cotton, but I don't know if it feels $100 better cotton than this other shirt over here. So,
and if you think about it, like I think you can't come at it from like if they're not a value brand. So like you're never gonna buy something from Satisfy and be like, this is good value. You're gonna be like, I can't get anything else like this, and I want this. And like that's kind of what they sell. Like you can't get anything else like it. Like there's no alternative to a Satisfy t-shirt unless you're getting like bootleg ones. Like there's no alternative to a Satisfy hoodie. Like I have one of the Satisfy hoodies I got on eBay. Like they fortunately wear in really well. I think it's a few years old, but like I love it. It's a great crop. Like I like the way it cinches, I like the weight of it. And like I can't really get anything like it. Like I have many hoodies. Like none of them are like that one. So I think that's kind of like where they operate. Like their items are always relatively unique. Like maybe there's a couple standouts that aren't like that, but I think for the most part, they do a really good job making like the best version of whatever their goal is. And I think with shoes, it's tricky because it's also like people are very conservative. Runners are very conservative when it comes to shoes. Streetwear people are not. So like if you're coming from a place of like, I'm going to wear this as a lifestyle shoe, kind of doesn't matter. But if you're like, I'm going to run a lot of miles in these, you all of a sudden are thinking about injury concerns, which are like far more expensive than $280. Like if you get hurt and you're out, like you don't care. So I think like people are finicky with shoes. And so I think that's like a tough space to get into. I think they did have a really good debut though. I think this is like one of the best footwear debuts I've ever seen from a brand. And it looks really cool. Like I think it looks really good. I tried it on. It was a little too like snug for me, which I'm not used to in a trail shoe. And I don't really have a need for it. So I was like, I'm not going to buy these.
Yeah, it feels like a strange... First off, I do love the shoe. I find it comfortable. But I don't feel like for a brand which, although they're European, everything about what they do says Americana.
Right. Which I feel like works for them though. Like I think it would be weird if an American brand did that. I think if you see a European brand do it, they're like, cool, this is Americana, or even like a Japanese brand do it, right? Like there's a bunch of like, there's Capital, which is like a very like Americana with, a lot of like Japanese sensibilities brought into it. And I think like we have a similar thing with Satisfy. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was like, if an American brand did this, you'd be like, it'd be very MAGA feeling. Like, even if that wasn't the vibe, like you would kind of feel that way. And because they're Parisian, because they're European, like that is not, like we know that's not the case. And I think that also sells pretty well in Europe, like the like American cowboy kind of thing, because like it's an aspirational thing that like they don't really have over there.
Yeah, I think also some of the demographic that's buying it, that, I grew up watching American shows on British and Irish TV, so we don't necessarily have that negative connotation of what America has. Some of the messages that we hear are coming out of America. It's more like a hark to the past.
Right. It's like it's an idea. Like it's nostalgic, but like it's also cool and punk. And it's like you're mixing a lot of different good, like mixing a lot of different tasty flavors there. I think it's like it really works for them. But it's
But
also
the
kind of
thing,
funny because they're like, none of these guys are cowboys.
yeah. But the thing with the shoe is that is not a shoe I think that was ever going to work in America. I think
Yeah.
in the American foot, certainly the American feet of trail runners is bigger, like a
That's a good point. I
wider
didn't
toe
think of that. Like
box.
wider toe box. Yeah, it's popular.
Yeah, like the history of trail running in America, it comes a little bit from like the through hiking type of style where Ultra were massive. Like their shares bound to have gone down, but they were like probably the biggest trail shoe brand that I was aware of maybe like 15 years ago.
Yeah, even thinking about like the like kind of the Born to Run era, kind of like where I was coming into running that time. Like everything's about like having a natural toe box. Like Anton Krupishko is running in the New Balance MT10s. Like those had a wide toe box and like a low drop, and those were like the popular shoes. Like the Cascadia that Jurek was running in. Like those like had a pretty wide like it weren't like a narrow toe box by any means. I don't think Brooks has ever had. I don't think anyone has ever said about Brooks they're narrow. Like maybe Nike, but like definitely not Brooks.
Yeah, it'll be.
That's something I hadn't thought of though. Is like just the foot shape on average, or like the preference in the fit is different. Even if the foot shape's the same, like the preference is different.
Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with the next shoe, and where they go with that, because I feel like for Satisfy to be successful, they need the shoes to work in America.
I agree. I think for the longevity of like the product line, like I think otherwise you're just like, all right, maybe we don't do the shoes. Like if they're not selling well, like it's a lot of money to invest in a new model. Like development takes a year and a half or 2 years versus like, clothing. It does not take that long. And like the risk is so much lower. And like they're probably, they got to be making hand over fist on Moth Tech tees. Like the margins on those got to be enormous, which is like great. Like get your bag.
Yeah, I think in the last month or 4 to 6 weeks, the price of Mottech has gone up significantly. And it feels like it comes from a place of we need to make more money rather than cost of production or any of these other factors. It feels like we need to make bank here. So this is one way that we can do it.
Yeah. It's like, I imagine part of that might be, and this is again me guessing, like I've talked to their team a little bit through their PR guy Tommy. He was helpful because I was like, I didn't see that many reviews for the shoes, and he was like, no, here's all those channels, and I was like, I just didn't watch any videos. I was just like unwilling to watch a 20-minute review. I'm like, I need to read an article that I can just like, all right, cool, here are the pros and cons, read through the takes, see what the people are doing in them. It's like I don't have the ability to just like sit on a YouTube video for 20 minutes to watch a shoe.
In terms of like the reviews, good job that you didn't find my review, because I did a review with Patrick Stangby of Portal.
I saw your review on Reddit, and you were just
Okay.
like,
That
yeah,
was
I
like
was like, and I
45
saw,
minutes.
yeah, that was a long one. I was like, I'm not getting through all this. I really liked. Was yours like the Fear and the Loathing in Las Vegas one? No, that might have been a different outlet, but like that one was kind of funny just because like the concept, but like I didn't get through all that one either. I like skimmed forward to like check the upper because I know some people said it was narrow and I felt it was narrow, and I was like, I want to see the takes here, but like I didn't like walk around in mine too much because I was like, I'm not gonna keep these if I like don't really like the fit. It's an investment. So
I didn't feel like they were narrow per
they're
se.
tight.
I felt like above the top of like the toes, it felt like there wasn't much height volume. I
Yeah.
think that, which makes them feel narrow. It makes them feel snug.
Which like I think is like the point. Like they were like, we want them to be snug because like you don't want if you have them roll your feet rolling around in there, you're gonna get blisters, especially on like ultra type stuff, which like I don't have a lot of experience with, to be fair, and like also haven't had any issues with. Like when I was running TSP and stuff like that, I wore the same pair of shoes. I wore their Hokas. Like I wore the Mafate Speed 4s. I ran easily 100 miles in those and I was fine. And like I know a lot of people with those complain about like getting heel blisters, and like I didn't get any. I was like, I don't even think I had those things tied for most of the time. I'm running 12-minute pace. I'm using air quotes on running. I was like, we're going so slow, it doesn't matter.
You're dissing half of the ultra running community right now.
It's like, I mean, it felt like running at the time, but like, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, like, is this thing going to come off my foot while I'm running this on like, unless I'm running on like really technical stuff, it's probably going to be fine.
There was a shuffle factor to that.
Yeah. It's like, if you're shuffling, it's not going anywhere.
Going back on the footwear Americana type of thing, have you followed any of Kilian Jornet and the Normal campaign around his States of Elevation?
Yeah, I didn't. I knew it was going on. I haven't followed a ton of it. I do think it's really cool. So my friends have done not like what he's doing, but like I've done a similar like bike to the thing, like run up, run down, bike to like the next peak kind of stuff. I think it's like super cool he's doing. Yeah.
It feels like that's like Normal or another brand who are trying everything that they can to have success in America.
Yeah, I think it's
they're another brand that don't have a white like their main shoe, the Sherag, is
Mhm.
known to be more of a Eurofit, if we'll call it that.
I like that. I like it's like if we start running with a Eurofit, it's like it's not too tight. It's Eurofit. You're just wrong. It's not.
Well,
It's not too.
it's kind of like the shoe equivalent to, an Asian cut of a t-shirt
Yeah.
compared to like, like an American cut and a Euro and an Asian. They're all kind of like a medium isn't a
The American
medium.
cut is huge. It's like everything is a little bit bigger. Yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about Tracksmith and their Overland collection. What did you think of that whole launch and them getting into the space?
I mean, they've done trail stuff before. So like this is their, I don't know if this is like their second or third capsule, but like they've sponsored the Vermont Overland race for a number of years. I think this is where they've struggled recently, is like they're not marketing things very well. And so like there was no like, hey, we've been doing this. It felt very sudden. It's like, oh, Tracksmith's doing trail. And it's like, well, they actually did have a bunch of trail gear. They started doing trail stuff during COVID. But like they didn't keep pushing it. I think they're from like a marketing side, they've kind of fallen off since at least 2017. Like I think it's just been like a slow decline, and don't have nearly as much of like the airspace that they used to. Where I feel like before they were really good at like repeatedly saying, I think you need to like repeat yourself a lot. That's like people that are probably in marketing are like, yes, that's what you need to do. But like for me, that was a recent realization with Tracksmith. I'm like, they need to repeat themselves more because like I remember that they did this thing, but like probably the average person or someone that's new coming in doesn't know. And it's like they don't know that Tracksmith has been doing trail stuff. They're not huge in the trail community, but they're making trail gear for realistically, they're making trail gear for their own customers. Like they're making trail gear for people that are already wearing Tracksmith or people in the Boston area or like kind of the New England thing. They're not making trail gear for people out in Colorado. And like if someone out in Colorado buys it, great. Like I don't think they're targeting like that. I think I'm sure the gear's fine for most of that stuff, but I don't think they're going after that person. I also don't think that person buys a lot of Tracksmith in general, even for road stuff. So I think that was difficult. I also think the marketing campaign for it was like not good. Like some of the copy was like definitely written with ChatGPT. And I don't know if it got a second set of eyes, and it felt like maybe it was a little rushed out. And they obviously like took a lot of heat for it. Like it was one of their bigger misses.
Yeah, it does feel like when I was thinking about it, they're just kind of marketing to people that are already buying their stuff that look, we've got this off-road stuff too as well. So you can
It's like it
continue
very
that
much feels
same
like
look.
you have this too. as opposed to like, this is a line we're excited about. We're like really moving into the space. It was just like, you run trails also? We got stuff for you.
Which makes me think that the whole sort of facepalm uh, round of memes that came around from your Boy Scout Jurek account maybe didn't impact them too much because that was maybe seen by the ultra trail sort of
Yeah.
community, and that's not who they were marketing to anyway. Which, for what it's worth, I thought they went way too hard on that.
I agree. And a lot of people are like, oh, they go hard on everyone, including Ultra. And I'm like, I've never seen him go so hard as to edit the HTML on the marketing site and take screenshots. I'm like, he spent a long time on this because he was like, this is an easy alley oop. Like, this is going to be an alley oop into a windmill slam dunk. It's going to look sick. And it was really funny. And it did feel like kicking someone while they were down. I'm like, we already know this isn't that good. And you were just like burying the knife. Like, you are going so hard on this. And like, you don't even need to. You could have just reposted what they already had. And that alone was already funny. Like, I remember taking some screenshots of some stuff and like sending along to my friend. And I was like, what is this copywriting? Like, why are we comparing pockets like for berries to like how bears scavenge along the trail? I'm like, this is a huge reach. And like, they didn't need to do that. All they could have said was like, these are pockets that we found tested really well with people running trails. It's like tried to be a little too cute with it. And it didn't even feel on brand with most of Tracksmith stuff. Not like the appearance of it, but like the copy itself, like didn't have that same like poetic feel to it that sometimes their like road stuff has. Like, I feel like a lot of their road stuff, like the marketing is like very romantic, and like I don't feel like the trail stuff got the same treatment.
Yeah, I kind of really like the road stuff and the look. It's just not one that I've come close to buying just because I'm not really that closely connected to it. But the overland stuff was like that distanced me more from the brand than anything else.
Right. Because you're like, this feels like a little, I mean, it's like when you see someone like a brand whiff or something like that, you're like, oh, because you're like, do they know what they're doing? Because like I do think they've kept a really tight product line. Like, I think they've like pared it down quite a bit to where I think it expanded a lot for a while, and they've pared it down quite a bit. And I think they're like, their core stuff is very good, and they're like really stuck with that, but they've not really had a breakout product since like they've got their Twilight shorts and they've got the Brighton base layer. I think those are like the two probably best selling items, and then maybe the Gray Boy. And they haven't broken out really too much from that. And I think if they wanted to go, let's say the J Press approach, like J Press, like the menswear brand, is like really classical and they just like do the same stuff all the time. It's really good. And like they don't innovate. Like, that's fine. And like they could also go that route, but it doesn't seem like that's what they want to do. And I do think they need to come out with something a little more exciting, or like maybe get a little more technical on some stuff. And I think we kind of saw that with their most recent like track jacket that came out. Like, it doesn't feel like too, I don't know, heritage. Like, it's really hard to do like super technical heritage stuff. I think they did a great job at that with the Strata line. Like, that was probably their most groundbreaking thing they've done in a while, where it's like really lightweight, great at wicking, UPF 50. They've got like their cool black material that they're using. But I think beyond, like, I think they need to do more stuff like that. Otherwise, they're going to be putting out things like don't fit the vibe. Like, I think the trail stuff is like really hard to translate that heritage preppy language, like design language, to trail. It looks out of place on the trail. Like, if you're wearing a collared polo shirt that's mesh, you look silly.
Yeah, I think it would be a much better fit for them if they expanded out into more like a menswear line, similar to maybe like a Minted vibe.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, they've had some menswear stuff in the past. Like, they did some collabs with J. Crew and Rowing Blazers. Again, like, if that's news to you, that is not your fault. That means they didn't do a good job marketing all those things. I think like it would be cool for them to put out. They did like a popover shirt, which I like. A popover shirt is like, that was like peak preppy menswear when I was in college. That was like hashtag menswear Tumblr scene era. I was like a popover Oxford shirt. And it's like they did a take on that was like technical and UPF. So it was like similar to the trail shirts that are like, sunproof. And I was like, oh yeah, it was a good idea. And like, of course, that shirt in white is sold out. And I'm like, do more of that. Like, if they made a button up shirt that was just like an Oxford cloth that had a stitched in navy blue hair, that would probably sell. If they made a rep stripe tie, like that would probably sell. But I think they're still very committed to running, like Matt and all those people like were former runners and like want to do running stuff and like want to do good by the running community. Like I think they love the sport. I think right now they're just like struggling a little bit on the marketing side with like how to mature as a brand. Like I think a lot of people have caught up and like before they had a first to market advantage and like now they don't, and like they don't have the young man's playbook of Bandit or the whatever 12 or $30 million that A-Rod has.
Yeah, I bought the Satisfy River shirt because I kind of wanted an SPF shirt that was a plain color. And if I had known about that Tracksmith one, I would have looked into it because one, it would have been a lot cheaper. And
like $120.
Yeah, and the Satisfy shirt also is in dark colors, which to me is a contradiction to having an SPF shirt. Like, why are you buying that? You want
like
to maybe
black looks good, but it's like going to be 15 to 20 degrees cooler on this or hotter on the surface, like in baking sun, in a dry weather environment where that's where you're going to be wearing the shirt is like in a dry type of like desert race. Like you're not going to be wearing it in a humid trail race, like where it's sticky or whatever.
One of the reasons for wearing that type of top is to minimize having to use sunscreen.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the Satisfy shirt has the ice pocket in the back.
I think that's a cool feature too.
But again, it's like the one I have is brown. So in the sun, it does get hot.
It's definitely a little warmer. I know they have like the green/gray one, which probably been like a good one. I feel like cream would be they don't do a lot of that lighter color. So I'd be maybe surprised if they did that color. I did think it was really cool when they did the chain stitched versions of that for the team on their trip out to Wyoming. Their ranch trip. I thought that was pretty cool. I do, from a sun shirt perspective, my favorite, I have the Rabbit High Country long sleeve shirt under $100. I did get it like the best colorway. Like it's like a pretty neutral plaid. Some of them are pretty loud. I wish they would make them in like, if they just like made them in Satisfy colors or something even close to that, or is a little more neutral, I think they would start branching out from their current audience. People would be like, oh, well, I want, a snap button shirt that is UPF. And like, it's great. Like I wear it to travel all the time. I found myself wearing it way more around than I do running because I'm like, this is my travel shirt now. Or like, if I'm in the sun, this is my shirt. It's like, I do really, those like UPF tops are great. And like, those are a good place to like kind of flex on the fashion because like, you can also, like, you will get people buying them to just like go hiking.
Yeah. But like a plaid shirt is uniquely American. So, I mean, some things cannot be changed.
I think Satisfy did do a plaid one. I think a while ago they did do a plaid one. I'm sure. I bet they phased it out because it probably wasn't popular. I think it was a few years ago.
Another brand or person, I guess it's a person, but it's a brand as well that I wanted to chat about was Alex Zono. Yes. And the I Dig Running Cap Revolution. Like, I think it's so interesting that something that's so small, like just this cap, has picked up so much attention, so much vibes, plugged into all of the right run spaces, and just been like an overwhelming success. Like,
yeah,
what do you think of that? And like, how do you think that happened?
I think like that is the other side of the coin of Satisfy. Like it is the opposite. I think the other thing is like it's not. I think it's whimsical and like uses a lot of color and it's playful, but not in a way that feels like corny. And I think that's where other brands haven't executed on that yet. Like I think his feels like handmade, whereas like other brands feel like cheesy. Like if you looked at like a chicken legs or like shorts or like boa shorts, where like they're like the fun prints, which is great. Or like even some like the rabbit prints, like not to put down rabbit, but like some of the prints are just like they're fun, but they're like fun in like a loud way. And his stuff is loud, but it doesn't feel childish or immature. It feels purposefully immature as opposed to like oh, I love this shirt because it's covered in, parrots or something like that. And it's like, okay, well, that shirt like looks like a Tommy Bahama shirt. And it's like, if he did something like that, it would feel playful and like hand drawn. I think everything got really sterile for a while in reaction to Satisfy getting popular. So like a lot of the like Run Bro brands are like minimalist logo, a lot of black, a lot of abstract, like some cyber sigillism in there, which looks cool. But for people that have maybe like more humanist tendencies that like want something that feels more warm and like less perfect, I think he like really nails that like perfectly imperfect vibe. And I saw the same trend happen like in web design years ago, because like that's my trade. And like there was like a lot of hyper minimal websites that like looked really cool and sleek, and then people were like, screw that, I want to do like the GeoCities like Tumblr era, MySpace era vibe, where it's like it's maximalist, there's everything on here, but like it's also me, and there's like some personality in there, as opposed to being like so cookie cutter and devoid of personality. And I think that's where a lot of brands are like in that, a lot of the new brands, like, so not like not most of the challenger brands, but like the really new like brands that really only exist on Instagram or like in community spaces. And even like the merch, it's like all very like sleek and cool, because that's easy to do. I think it's really hard to do a maximalist design, or hard to do a lot of the tees that Alex is doing in like a tasteful way, or like in a playful way that doesn't feel super corny.
Yeah, his stuff, you're so right. It's hard to make a balls up of a black t-shirt with a minimal logo.
Yeah, it's
Whereas the
getting
stuff that
cool.
Alex is doing, if you look at like that limited edition Mont Blanc t-shirt, it was like the cartoon equivalent of looking at some old piece of art where you could look at a little corner of it and see a story. There was so much to zoom in on, and just there was a lot of imagination to it.
Yeah, I think that's like part of this trend too. Like I think that's why like I've always been attracted to like vintage graphic tees, specifically like the hand drawn ones. And a lot of races like kind of have that. Like a lot of the old race tees have that vibe where like they're hand drawn and fun and like a little bit silly. And I think that a lot of Zano stuff like feels very like 70s era. Like I think a lot of stuff has a feeling of the 70s in it, where it like feels kind of vintage, even though it's new. Like obviously all the stuff is new. Like it has a very vintage look. Like the trucker hat that's like hand stitched. Just like doing a lot of those embellishments. Like my mom was embellishing her jeans in the 70s, like putting flowers on them and stuff like that, and like making things like less hyper masculine and minimal. I think like that's, I think he made something I think for himself, and I think it took off. Like I don't know if he was like, this is a product I need to bring to market. Like he's a creative guy. I don't think he was necessarily thinking like, I'm gonna quit my job and make hats or like a running line. I think he was like, I need something that like feels like, makes me feel like myself. And like for I can't fathom him wearing a Moth Tech t-shirt. Like that doesn't, like that would not be expressive enough for a person like him.
Yeah, it's a good point. Actually, the t-shirt does have a 70s feel to it, with the colored collar and shirt end.
The ringer style tee, which is like an American, like the ringer style tee is an American thing as well.
Yeah, and those caps, you can buy them obviously online if you're quick to get them whenever there's the release, because they sell out almost instantly. But also, it's Alex, his caps and his stuff is something that's available in the vibey run spaces like Knees Up, and I guess probably
Yeah,
in Renegade.
they created a few stores. He had like a little tour through like Southeast Asia as well. So I think they're in like some of the like hikey sort of stores there. Korea's always ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
They always got cool stuff.
I did want to ask you about the rise of the run spaces. There seems to
Mhm.
be a run space in every major city, and they're all doing the Satisfy, District Vision,
Mhm.
Portal, a string of maybe 6 or 8 brands at
I
most.
think there are fewer
They
of them than
serve
you think,
coffee, they do
but
events.
they are good at like marketing themselves and creating a brand for themselves. So they have more of a presence than these other stores that I'm sure are doing way more revenue. Like I would guarantee if you walk to like the local Fleet Feet or whatever your equivalent is, they're putting in millions of dollars. And like these stores are not, and they're probably staying barely above water, but like that's not the point. The point is like they want to own a vibey store. I think we already had this like pop up in the menswear and fashion space, like the multifunctional or like the multi-brand concept space where it's like we do wine nights and like coffee and have like a zine release party for like this guy's friend of a friend and like someone here's DJing and like we have our own product line, but like also sell like the high end, like if you know brands. And it's like that's just been like that template has been taken and stamped into running. And it's a lot of the same people that are coming from the menswear and fashion world that like would have already made that store if they needed to have more of them. And it's like I think you're absolutely right. Like we're definitely seeing more of them because it's also now it's possible. Like I don't think you could really do it 5 or 10 years ago. Like Renegade was very much like a trailblazer in terms of stores like that. Exchange, I think, straddles it a little bit better. Like they're not like I think they sell all that stuff, but they're also like much more accessible. I think for on purpose because they're like located in Nashville, Tennessee, which is not exactly like a bastion of menswear and fashion. It's like much more of a music scene. I think the place that I'm most surprised that a store like this doesn't exist is New York. Like there are so many multi-brand concept stores for like menswear and women's wear and even like maybe kind of trail stuff, but like not really. Like I don't know where you'd buy Satisfy in New York. I don't think any store sells it. The store doesn't exist. I think part of that is due to the fact that rent is so high.
That's what I was going to say, Ren.
And like those types of stores just like aren't doing crazy volume. Like unless you're selling hundreds of pairs of Brooks glycerins, which is like what is keeping most run specialty stores afloat. Like you're not doing that much volume, or like, or if you establish a brand for yourself, so like the stores like use up space, and I keep thinking of them, but like Windthrow stores in Seattle, they do a good job. Like a lot of these stores have their own like production studios in them, and I think they build a brand online, and that helps with their online sales, which like pays their rent. Like I'm sure if they had no online sales, they'd have a tough time making rent.
Like it did feel weird to me that there was no sort of there wasn't even a great selection of running shops in New York. Like I think
No.
the best place to go was probably Fleet Feet at Columbus Circle.
Yeah, if you want to shop outside of like if you want running shoes, you need to go to one of those. There's a new one that's like in New Jersey right now. And like if you're a visitor, if like you're already in New York and don't have a car, you're not going to go to this store. Actually,
I
I
never
have
went
like
to New Jersey.
yeah, it's like, I mean, if you're from out of town, you're not going to go to New Jersey. I have this like running store finder on my website and I'm like, pull it up right now because it'll be helpful for me finding the. So we have the Bandit running room, which is obviously just Bandit. We have the regular Bandit store, a couple Tracksmiths. Rain Running opened up in Fort Lee, New Jersey, which is like easily like it's as far north as the Bronx. So like it would take you over an hour by train to get there. And like you're not going to make that trip to go get running shoes when you can just go to like Fleet Feet or order it online. Yeah, but like it's shocking that that doesn't exist. Like in New Jersey, you can pay the rent. But like who's coming in to go there? Like it's not exactly like you can make the store into that much of a destination unless you're really near some great trails or something like that. And I
Yeah, it
think a lot of
feels
these other
like
places have made it a destination. Like you go there for an event and like maybe you're doing some running, there's like a wine bar afterwards, you hang out, that sort of thing.
yeah, like Minted have done their pop-ups at various launches, and you see there's always two or three or four or even pop-ups around the New York Marathon
Mm-hmm.
that appear. But I guess it probably is like a rent thing in Manhattan. But you would think that even in Brooklyn, would be a better space for some sort of event-focused space that had a retail part to it as well.
I could see it working out with an existing store that maybe wants to do more like running stuff. So like there's Ven Space in Brooklyn. It's near Prospect Park. They don't have an online store just because like I think they wanted to avoid having returns. And so like if you have people ordering online, they order in a few sizes, return a bunch of it, cost them a bunch of money. So they're in store only. Colbo is like another like multi-brand type space. And like I think around a New York City marathon, you could do something like that. But I don't think they could support year round, like carrying a ton of stock for running stuff because like people aren't really coming in for that. But then again, no one has like I think there's room for what I'm saying here is I think there's room for someone to open the space. I don't know if you can stay in business. Like I do think that will be tricky because like if you format it like one of these other stores that are like very vibey, Like you're not going to get in the average walker to like buy a pair of Brooks Addiction walkers, or like, you're not going to get in the average hiker that's going to buy a pair of like Cascadias or like New Balances. Like, and you need to sell a lot of those to like those pay the rent, and like those are good partnerships to have with those brands because like they know, they're going to be around for forever and are always going to have stock for you. Versus like, I don't know, if you sell 15 moth tag tees, like I don't know if that's gonna cover you, and then you might not be able to get more in stock.
Yeah, but then if you have a shelf with Brooks glycerin and shoes like this, then you're also removing the vibes from your vibey
Right.
space.
Right. It's like once you're carrying like all that sort of stuff, like now it's like you're just another running store. So I think some stores definitely strike a balance. Like I think there's room. I'd be interested to see one of these like running spaces take the approach, like the Alexano approach, which I think is hard to do. I think it's like easier to have the minimal kind of like inaccessible type store where everything's like super clean and plain. And I think it's a lot harder to have like the more maximalist type store, which does carry like which feels accessible but is also still cool. Like I think you if you sold Alexano hats at Fleet Feet, the same fashion guy or like fashion girl that's gonna buy that hat, like that will also sell to like your average runner that's just like, oh, that's cute. Like I like that. Like I think it has a much wider reach. And so I think if you can bottle that up into a store, I think you could have something that is both cool but also gets enough foot traffic that you can pay New York rent. I don't think you need to do that in like, a Dublin or something like that where rent's cheaper.
Yeah. I've seen, particularly with Knees Up, that there's so many people arrive for these run clubs and they're running around in the city in like Norda shoes. And I don't know your experience with Norda, but the Vibram sole on the Norda shoe does not withstand any tarmac or concrete running
Because it's a
whatsoever.
soft they use a soft rubber, right? Like it's better for grip, like it's not durable.
Yeah, but it's also, it's not, they don't have large lugs. So it's more
So
like
it wears out.
ripples and sort of nipple type of construction
Mhm.
on the outsole. So it just wears down quickly, which is obviously great for traction on the trails. But such are the vibes that are so important in the run clubs that people are wearing Nordas to
It's
them.
a
And I'm
yeah, it's a cool
seeing,
looking, but they are
yeah,
expensive to run a club every day. And I'm like, there are other cool looking shoes you can get that might last you a little longer. I was like, I have a
yeah,
pair of Nordas, but like I save them for like the big days on the trail or like pacing at Speed Project and stuff like that. Or like or like hiking. Honestly, like they're a great lightweight hiker too.
yeah. What I guess the point I'm trying to get to is that the vibes are the most important thing with these spaces,
Right. Yeah.
and
If you
people
lose the
will,
vibe at the store, like if the store isn't cool, no one's gonna go. Like for when you're selling like these types of products and like that's your if you're trying to do that thing. Like if Colbo weren't cool, people wouldn't go there and like linger around and hang out. And like you also have to attract that like type of clientele to like attract more of that clientele, especially at any events you have. If you have a bunch of like, I don't know, average runners showing up, you'd be like, oh, this isn't cool. And I think there's that. I don't know if you saw it on Reddit, someone posted it. It's like Scott Jerks like screen capped it a few times where it's like, I'm trying to start like a cool run club and like, the type of people that wear Satisfy and stuff like that. And people keep showing up wearing like chicken legs and like whatever stuff. Like chicken legs catching a lot of strays here, but like they're showing up wearing like whatever and like they aren't cool. Like, how do I fix this?
yeah. Something that I've seen, like I would go to the monthly Satisfy run, in whatever city that I'm in, and I've started to notice that the last couple I've been at, there's been more of the gym bro arriving, and that's kind of caught me a little bit by surprise because they're not wearing any Satisfy whatsoever. Maybe arriving shirtless with the chest heart rate monitor and the black nose strip for a group run in the city. So I'm wondering, like, are we
They know it's a cool
starting to
space
see the
to be at.
downfall of this type of thing?
I think the pendulum swing is coming because I think like I think the people that are like Satisfy fans are about that. They'll always be around unless they get too put off by a lot of the new customers coming in. And like this is no different, from like bands or something like that, or like other clothing brands. Like, you have like wearing Tracksmith used to mean a lot more, 10 years ago than it does now, which like I think is actually a good thing. It's like now I'm like, I can just like wear Tracksmith and no one's looking at me like, what's this guy's deal? Or like he's too cool. It's like I can just wear it without people like necessarily judging me too hard. And I think plenty of brands have like kind of gone through that. And same thing with bands. Like I, listened to trying to think of like this one hardcore band. Anyway, like I listen to them, like they've gone very mainstream. And like I know that I joined in late, and I'm sure they lost a bunch of fans when they put out like an album that appealed to their new audience and was more mainstream. Um, it's like I think you kind of have like when you're maintaining your social capital, like I think there's a trade-off. It's hard to grow your brand and sell to more people. Well, like your brand, like keeping your brand capital the same. Like I think you're constantly trading brand capital for like more reach. And I think Satisfy's done a really good job like doing that slowly over the years. But I think now as they're like trying to grow their community and stuff like that, you're going to get people that are interested in the brand that like may not fit like the brand's idea of who's buying their stuff, or like the type of person that they're showing their marketing is not necessarily the type of person that's showing up to the runs.
Yeah. Closing off on the run space thing as we start to wind things down.
Mm-hmm.
Another trend that I've seen with with some of the run clubs, or the run spaces, I should say, not the clubs, is if you look at Knees Up as an example, I'm referencing them because I used to live literally behind the space, but they've started to plug into some of the cycling clubs.
Yeah.
And you're seeing more of that. And I'm thinking like that's a way of them to expand their market, because
those people have a lot of money.
Yeah, but also like I don't know where you were saying that you're cycling, but you're cycling because you were injured. Like I don't know if it's even in frame. I've got a bike beside me on a trainer. My two bikes that I own have been bought at times of injury, and I reluctantly get on it now. But it feels like as these spaces expand, they kind of expand in the direction of the owner or the people that are there as part of their running journey. And if their running journey has injury, then cycling becomes part of that. But then they say, well, actually, that expands the market much bigger for this space as a meeting place.
And like I think for a lot of this stuff, it's obviously different. Like, but cycling stores have done the like cycle space. Like cycling is 5 to 10 years ahead of running. Like they've already done the cycling spaces. Like Rafa had the clubhouses way before any of the fourth wave running stores existed. And then there are a bunch of stores, mostly in Canada. I don't think we have any in the US. Renegade's starting to do some cycling stuff, and Luft in Los Angeles is starting to do some like running and trail stuff. So I think they're like trying to get a little more crossovers, because like for a cycling store, it means like you're getting a ton of new customers, even though they're like not quite as willing to spend like the cycling money. And then from the running side, like you're getting some cycling customers, and like running stuff looks cheap to them. So they're just like, cool, I need a full new kit. I'll just go buy it. I can buy everything I need for $300, and that buys one pair of bib shorts if you're, buying the high end cycling stuff. We've got a lot of those like joint spaces now, like the multi-sport concept spaces. Like we have En Route is in Vancouver. There's Le Club in Montreal, and like that's like a coffee shop and like running space and like bike shop / store. Like maybe you can get repairs done there. I think the model works better for cycling and like formerly skating, because you can go there and you get your repairs done, and like you buy your parts through the store, and like that doesn't exist for running. But what does exist for running is like you need a meeting space to like get together for your run. Or like in Japan, they have these things called like, they're literally called run spaces, and they're like clubs you can become a member to. You go there after work, you throw your stuff in a locker, you go for a run, you take a shower. It's like it's a sports club for running, and like the whole thing is like it's this tidy little locker room near. And like sometimes they'll have a standing bar in them, like a little running store / you can sometimes loan out shoes. Like you can borrow shoes and kit if you need to. And you can rent it per day or have a monthly membership. It's like, I think, I think that's an interesting concept I would love to see in the US. But like, I think you're onto something with like the joint spaces. A lot of cycling brands are also now going into selling running gear. It's like Panormal just put out a very mid looking running line, but they've done a couple things. Map obviously did a collab with Hoka on like a trail shoe. I could easily I would be thrilled to see them get into the running space and like make if they can translate their design language and like quality and marketing into running. I think that'd be fascinating. So like, I'd like to see it happen not just like in the run spaces, but like from the brands themselves. Be like take this quality that cyclists expect and this like fashion sense that cyclists expect and like bring it over to running. Because I think that's existed for. I think there's much more of a culture of like look good, feel good on the bike. Like there's a lot more of that like cyclismo, and like there isn't that same sort of thing in running. Yeah,
I love how what Portal have done,
yeah.
and I think that they're a brand that perfectly suits that run space because they're not coming at it from with a history of cycling or running or hiking. They're
They
just
started with all
it's
three.
yeah, it's outdoor. You know, you might be preference have one or the other, but we do all of this stuff, and I just think it's a nice. It's
Yeah, they now and they have a bunch of like really great like designers behind it too. Like Patrick Stangby has like a ton of experience, is a great designer. Like I feel sad about it occasionally because like the Zara thing, but I'm like even the stuff he designed for Zara also looks sick. Like he is very good at his job and like he's a good runner. Like I've no ill will towards him. And like Colin Meredith's done some really cool stuff. Has his own line, did like some collabs with Cieli. So like they've got a bunch of hitters. Like they've got some their guys on their team. Like it is, I gotta like save some money to buy some Portal stuff. I'd love to try it out, especially the cycling stuff. But like, I think the idea of the brand, like what they're trying to do, is super interesting. And I think the designs look cool. And like, obviously, they're not geared towards like high end performance, but I think they are geared towards like making stuff really well. And so, from a performance perspective, like they are trying to do the best of a certain class of thing. Like we're trying to do the best multifunctional sportswear, even if it's not like the sore best, where it's like we're trying to make the lightest, fastest. Like we're trying to make it the best for kind of this like holistic outdoor active lifestyle, which sounds like corny when I say it out loud, but you know, like when you look at their site and you go through all their stuff, you can understand what I mean.
yeah. The only problem with picking stuff off the site is like you would need a deep wallet, especially when you start to include the cycling stuff. You know, it's
Bib shorts are like, oof. Like they look so cool, but that is expensive. But I guess like if you if you're only getting a few, I think that's the other thing is I would say is like you don't need 5 pairs of these. It's like get a one or two, and like that's all you need. Like they're durable, they're well designed, they're gonna be your favorite, and these are gonna be the pair you always want to wear. And so when you factor that and you're like, you will have wished you bought this pair instead of 2 pairs of the other thing. It's like that, I guess, is worth its weight.
yeah. Well, two cycling outfits there is you're probably dropping $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And like that's, map is expensive and you're like, whoa. I was like, this makes map look affordable.
But that's like one of the interesting things that you pointed out, like for cycle brands to get into running and to market to their existing base, it's a throwaway purchase. Running
Yeah,
shorts, running
there's like
t-shirt.
so much less price sensitivity on cycling. Cause like you're used to spending, 3 or 5, like with, people that are like cycling enthusiasts, I would say. Like obviously there's people that just bike and like they do it for fun and they're really trying to be budget minded. You can be. But I think with a lot of people that get into it, especially like later in life, like they have expendable income, they get obsessed with it. I'm just iterating. I'm just like saying things out loud that I feel about myself. And you're just like, oh, I really like doing this thing. And like, I don't want like the low end stuff. So you get the mid end stuff, which is like triple the cost of anything running I've ever purchased. I've probably just in getting a bike and like the stuff I need to bike, I've got to be near my lifetime spend on running, including race entries and travel, like all combined. There's no way it's come close to this. It's like maybe it has over 15 years, but like it's just like it's hard to fathom. So like if you're a person that has a cycling wallet and you see this running stuff, you're like, yeah, whatever. Like, sure, I like Pas Normal. I'll get their $160 5-inch inseam shorts that look gross.
Yeah, GOREWEAR are a sponsor of this podcast, so thankfully I have not had very big cycling spends other than the bikes, but
Oh, that's
they
nice.
are
GOREWEAR stuff's great.
yeah.
It's like I have the GOREWEAR jacket. Love it. I have the L3 like rain. That's my rain jacket right now. Like for everything, not just not just like running, but I'm wearing it outside. It's been raining for the past like week in Boston, fortunately. So
Yeah,
big
yeah,
cold.
they make great stuff, but the bike purchases for me go back years, but they're big spends. It's like I don't know what it's like buying a computer. It's something that you're gonna
Yeah,
buy, and you know, this is what I've got for 5 years or whatever, you know. So
that is true. It's like the other nice thing with bikes too is like the used market's like pretty good. Like you can normally find someone that like clearly worked in a bike shop or something like that and got a deal on theirs. So like you're finding a steal. I think that's like the people with really nice bikes in the bike industry are like dentists and then like people that work in the bike industry because they are getting, you know, they're getting it for costs through the shop that they work at or like from the racing team that they're at. And it's like, or you're making so much money you don't care. It's like that's the only in between. It's like only I think the quote that my friend has told me is like only an idiot pays full retail for an idiot or a rich guy pays full retail for cycling stuff.
yeah, well, there's plenty of deep pockets in cycling. Look, as we wrap things up here, I'd love just to know what you have coming up with running supply over the next 6 months, year. I guess you've got the
I wish I would.
marathon stuff. Or you got any plans around New York?
Yeah, so I've got like I've got a my biggest capsule ever of like vintage running stuff for New York, and like it's all like I don't have like random cool tees, like it's all very much New York themed. So it's like the Long Island Newsweek marathon, which is like one of the oldest marathons besides Boston. A ton of New York stuff, some Fifth Ave Mile things, some New York cross country stuff, and then looking forward, like maybe doing something for World Cross, which is coming up. It'll be in the U.S. for the first time since it was in Boston in '96, I want to say. So it's been like 30 years since like World Cross Country has been in the US. And it coincides with Club Cross Country Nationals where I'll have a bunch of friends racing. So I was like, this would be a fun thing it'd be fun to have like a cool like vintage cross country pop up down there and also just like go watch some great racing. I'll also be at TRE, uh, doing some like media coverage there and talk with brands and learning about what's upcoming. It's really helpful if you're in a brand and you're listening. It's really helpful if you put me on your press list because I don't have to keep refreshing your Instagram. Saves me a lot of time. So those are the two major things. And then I have a bunch of like new articles coming out. I'm trying to like get into some content like outside of like some like long form stuff outside of just doing like the wrap ups. Like those are great. I know people come to me for them and I'm not going to stop doing them, but I also want to talk about other things at length. And some of my articles have gotten really long because I will try to talk about something for a little bit. So I have some stuff coming up about drinking and running and just like the shift in drinking culture, some stuff in like the running spaces that you're talking about as well. So that's on the horizon. And I'm always looking for new people to interview on Supply Run. So that's like I try to do that every Friday. And that's just like an interview with someone from like the industry, usually like ideally with some overlap in the fashion side of things.
And you've also done some video stuff on Substack as well, right?
Yeah, I did. I've done like the occasional like interview on video and like and podcast stuff, and I'm looking to break into doing more of like the as much as I hate to like I hate the idea of it, like do a little more like talking head video on YouTube and stuff like that to at least share some of the ideas from Substack and hopefully bring more people into the long form. Like Substack is kind of it is a little bit of an echo chamber, so it's hard to reach new people. And I'm not geared exclusively towards growth, but there are new people that I do want to reach that are like in the industry are interested in this type of stuff. Like I'm not trying to have a huge audience, but I would love to have like get the people that are interested in this sort of stuff. And I'm not great at self promo, so the best way for me to do that is just like put out content and stuff I'm already talking about.
Yeah, well, I guess you always have to be growing a little bit because there's just natural shrinkage in everything.
Yeah, so I'm keep staying consistent like that as much as I can.
All right. Cole, thanks so much for your time. I've enjoyed chatting with you and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you so much for having me on Trail Talk.